My life had been different since my brother Ethan vanished. It was weird. Nothing had happened. There wasn't a break-in or a drawn-out investigation or anything. I guess I put up flyers once, but I couldn't stomach staring at that picture of him. It was from picture day, the week before he disappeared. Smiling, having insisted to my mom that he had to wear a goofy shirt with his favorite cartoon on the front. I don't think I made it through maybe 10 of the missing posters before I left the rest on a coffee shop counter and went home. Maybe, if I had been more thorough, someone would have recognized him and said something. It didn't matter. A year had passed, and the grief still lingered in our home like a ghost, his room untouched, his seat at the table still set. I'd started doubting things would ever go back to normal. But at one point, my parents became determined to fill the void. When they announced they were adopting, I felt a flicker of hope. I knew I was betraying Ethan's memory, but maybe a new sibling would make the house feel less empty. When they brought Daniel home, though, my heart sank. It wasn't what I expected. Daniel was strange. He was short and wooden, with a glossy finish and painted-on freckles. His stiff jaw clicked when he smiled, and his hollow eyes seemed to follow me wherever I went. I tried to get my parents to explain. It's a ventriloquist dummy. But they just laughed.
Isn't he unique? He's just what we need to brighten things up.
I wasn't convinced. How could a lifeless doll replace my brother? But my parents treated Daniel like he was real. They sat him in Ethan's chair at the dinner table, tucked him into Ethan's bed at night, and even spoke to him as if he might respond. That first week, I thought they were just trying to cope. But things just got worse. Daniel started making noises. At first, it was harmless. The creak of his wooden joints as they moved, or the faint scrape of his shoes across the floor, when I swore I hadn't touched him. But then came the sounds, distorted hums, whistles, and faint gargled noises, like a broken music box trying to play a tune. Did you hear that? I asked one night at dinner. Daniel had made a low, croaking sound after my dad asked him a question, as though trying to respond. Of course, my mom said, smiling. He's just being polite. I stared at them, bewildered. It wasn't polite. It wasn't even normal. The noises grew stranger with each passing day. Sometimes, late at night, I'd hear faint mumbling coming from Ethan's room. I'd press my ear to the door, only to hear Daniel's garbled attempts at forming words. Daniel can't talk, I told my parents one morning. My mom waved me off. Be nice, he's learning. Daniel started showing up in places he wasn't supposed to be. I would leave him in the living room, only to find him in my bedroom, propped up on my chair, staring at me with that permanent smile. Mom, I think Daniel is moving around, I said one night. My mom looked annoyed again. Stop making up stories. He's your brother now. You need to accept him. I couldn't accept that thing they tried to pass off as my brother, not when Daniel's presence made my skin crawl. One night, I woke up to a faint whistling. The sound was soft, like dry leaves scraping together, heart pounding. I crept out of bed and followed the noise. It led me to the attic. As I tiptoed inside, the attic door suddenly slammed behind me. The faint light flickered, barely illuminating Daniel, motionless among Ethan's old toys. His painted eyes gleamed, and a garbled whisper filled the air, warped, familiar, but wrong.
Are you scared of me?
He rasped, his voice fractured and hollow, like a record word by time. I froze, the words clicking into place like they'd been spoken before, over and over. But I'd been too distracted to hear. My hands trembled as I saw him, Ethan, standing in the shadows, his head tilted, his expression blank. Relief turned to dread. He wasn't blinking. His skin gleamed unnaturally, his limbs too stiff. Daniel's jaw clicked as he uttered the words.
We're a family again.
My breath caught as I looked past Ethan. There, glimmering in the faint light, was a glass box. My parents hung there, limp and lifeless, their faces pressed into forced smiles, their eyes glassy. Their bodies, the ones downstairs pretending to be my parents, were nothing more than hollow puppets now, animated by strings that seemed to fade into the shadows above. And then I saw my own reflection. I stumbled back, my heart pounding as I watched the mirrored version of me grin, impossibly wide, with painted lips and hollow eyes. The glass version of me tilted its head, that same eerie tune whistling faintly from its lips.
Don't be scared.
Daniel said, his voice warped.
Ethan told me you'd understand.
Ethan creeped forward, unblinking. Laughter. Daniel, Ethan, and my parents rose around me, hollow and lifeless. The lights flickered once more and went out. The next morning, I'd had the best breakfast I'd had in a long time. Or maybe it felt like the first breakfast I'd ever had. My parents stood by the door, chatting with the neighbors, talking about how happy I was, how well I was doing in school. I smiled at them. Sitting next to me were my brothers, their painted grins gleaming in the sunlight, perfectly still. It was so nice to have a whole family again. Thank you so much for watching. I feel like it's been a long time since I uploaded like a real video, but whoever is still here, I'm happy that you are. So goodbye for now, but not forever.